What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Sixers post-game live. We are reacting to Sixers versus Mavs. Sixers get the L in this one, but it doesn't really matter. It's freaking Summer League. 111 to 103. Top takeaways, reaction, and more. Joining us, as always, he is the man, Tiago, at Tiago PHL. What's up, Tiago?
Just another day, another Turk Smith showdown.
Absolutely.
So, here we are talking about the man, Smith, who looks every bit like a rotation player.
Amen, Tiago. That's how you start a podcast, baby. I love the energy. Also joining us, the man, the myth, the legend, Sean Bernard, at Sean_Bernard1. Again, Tiago, Sean brings some of the best Sixers coverage, period. Twitter, you name it. What's up, Sean?
Yeah, doing well. Always good. This is pleasing basketball to watch to me. Like, I can't really explain it, but it feels good to just sit down and watch a bunch of guys competing their hearts out for jobs. And frankly, there is some talent in the Sixers organization. These guys trying out. So I was happy with what I saw. The loss is whatever. We can brush it off. And Turk Smith is absolutely the man.
Let's do it, man. As you know, TERQUAVION Smith, his athleticism, man. He's out there flexing, dunking on people. Like, he was amazing. TERQUAVION Smith finished the game 18 points. He was a +5, 6 assists, 6 boards. We have seen that again and again throughout the Summer League. Even though, he only shot 7 of 17, 3 of 9 from 3, he's filling up the stat sheet in steals, blocks, assists, rebounds. His feel in the pick and roll, it's all great. I'll throw it to you, Sean, first. Like, what was your take on Turk?
Yeah, I think the passing is the biggest thing for me tonight, specifically that I saw from him. I thought he made a more conscious effort to be involved as a playmaker, be a guy running the show offensively, which is a great thing for his future. This is a huge compliment for a guy who's just in the beginning of Summer League, who went undrafted. I'm very confident that he is an NBA player, that there is absolutely a career for him in the National Basketball Association. He just does too much well. One of the things that also definitely jumped off the page for me tonight is his body control in terms of like slowing down, speeding up is unbelievable. Like, that's a huge part of the way he creates separation, and the way he can go from like 0 to 100 and 100 to 0 within that is super impressive. He does have the in-between game too. Like, he's not just a shooter. He does way more than that. The little mid-range creation is there. The finishing ability and the energy he plays with is awesome. It's him clapping, cheering, flexing. Those are all great things to watch, and they matter within the team. So, yeah, I'm super thrilled with everything that I have seen from TERQUAVION Smith. I've been a fan of his, and I'm hyped it's working out as well as I could have possibly hoped right now.
This is like the 5th Summer League game, I think, right? Something like that. And there's like, he's the guy. He's the guy that can step on a Philadelphia 76ers court and get playing time with his floor spacing. That energy, his role as a microwave scorer off the bench is as legit as it gets, man. He had a steal and a dunk in the first half. There was a play in the second half where he finished through contact and somehow made the layup. It was just an incredible showcase of his athleticism. Tiago, what was your take on Turk?
Yeah, if I had to ask you guys, like, who are the top 2 Sixers shooters off the bench today, if you were to include Smith in the rotation, would you put Smith in that group? Because I think I would.
Yeah, I think probably. And even when you run down it, it's like, are we asking Furkan to hop this list? Is it Anthony Melton? Maxey for sure. I would give Maxey the nod. Beyond that, like, it's open for the taking. That's a huge concern now that Niang's gone, especially. Turk Smith is right in that conversation, and it's off the catch and shoot. It's off the dribble. He can do it in a variety of ways. So, yeah, I think he's definitely in that conversation. I think, frankly, we'll get some minutes just based on that.
Yeah, what I like about him, so obviously offensively, Sean touched on all the points that I think are prevalent. There was one play where he got down the court very early and Tabellis had his man sealed, and he threw a perfect bounce pass right in his pocket where he could dunk it. All I saw was like Joel Embiid running the court, right, if he ever decides to do that, sealing his man and having Turk just throw that beautiful bounce pass for an easy dunk. So you're starting to see like how his skill sets play into the Sixers' best player, which is a huge benefit. I think defensively, he's showing signs of like a willing defender. I don't think he has like great bend defensively, so you can see that how quick guards can get by him pretty quickly. But when he's fighting through screens, competing, he's very skinny. He gets around screens, able to disrupt the ball handlers that way. He's been way more active playing passing lanes the last couple of games, generating more steals. So even defensively, even with his limitations, you're seeing a player who's definitely willing to put in the work, and not be a complete zero defensively. So I thought that, again, overall, he was very, very good today. I will say that the fourth quarter, it was not pretty. And you start seeing some of the concentration lapses, turnovers. And he was at one point at plus 22, and I think he finished at plus 5. Most of that came in the fourth quarter. So these are things you have to work through as he gets, playing time and his legs start getting tired and there are games back to back. But overall, man, this guy looks every bit like an NBA player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he looks like a guy that's going to dominate with the Bluecoats if he does play there. I mean, the way they push the tempo, the way they run the pick and roll, the way they shoot up threes, man, Turk's going to put up some wild stats, and I think he's ready to go. So he's a really fun one to watch. Let's talk about a guy we haven't seen in a few games, Louis King. You can count on, 3 fingers how many wings are on the Philadelphia 76ers roster right now. Louis King is a guy, 6'7", 7 foot plus wingspan, can defend the 3 to 4, shoot 40% from 3, 20-point plus scorer with the Bluecoats last season. He only had 9 points in this one, but he showcased some of his range. He did have 3 steals and 2 blocks. Definite 3-and-D upside, and it's kind of slim pickings out there when it comes to MLE targets. And I think they only got $5 million or so to actually spend. Tiago, what was your take on Louis King?
My take is when the Miami Heat announced their intentions to go watch your private workout, if you're a Sixers front office, that's to me is an alert siren saying that they see something on this guy that you guys should probably see as well. I think that today was definitely his best game. Very impressed by his range. At one point, he had a catch and shoot, which was almost from Turk's shooting range. It was very impressive. You see he's very comfortable off the catch. At one point, he let miss off the break, found the guy in transition, things that shows his high-level IQ, which I think he has plenty of that. I love his potential as a small 4, stretch 4 kind of player. I think that in the modern NBA, if you want to go small, he could potentially be a kind of power forward that you want to have on your lineup. So, yeah, the versatility, man, is something that the Sixers don't have a lot in their roster, right? Especially when you bring in older, aging, non-athletic players. And while this guy's not super, super athletic, I think he's very smooth. He moves very well in space. He's got a nice frame. And I think the shot, even on the misses, it looked good. So I'm very confident it's gonna translate.
I was happy to see him out there because Daryl Morey was also in the building, sitting there watching. I think that's a strange coincidence. I think Louis King is real, and I would love to sign him to a contract. What's your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, and there had to be some sort of belief because it was the midseason move that boosted him to a 2A last year, that he did not start out initially on that. So there has to be some sort of positive feelings in the organization. I can't find any real holes in Louis King. When I look at it, I will say he hasn't popped in my heart as one of my guys. He is 24, which is a little bit old for what you would hope at this point for where he really hasn't gotten a true NBA chance yet. Has bounced around the G League a lot. Played for the Westchester Knicks, for the Kings organization, a couple other stops there. He was a one and done in college at Oregon. For me, I'm surprised at the lack of traction this guy's get. I feel like I'm missing something. Where's the hole? What's not quite there? I do think the athleticism is worth noting. I think he's a pretty, sub-average athlete by NBA standards. He's much more smooth in his delivery. He's got a good frame, so he still gets a shot off. He's very controlled at the tempo that he plays at. There's definitely still a lot to like. The Miami Heat showing interest, I agree, is an excellent sign if you're Louis King. And if you're the Sixers, maybe you should weigh that based on what we're seeing from their roster construction. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what the outlook is on Louis King. I know we're going to touch on the guys at the bottom of the roster, but the Tubelis locking up that third 2-way slot, I think that needs to change. And I think Louis King's a prime candidate for it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Tubelis got to go. Tubelis got to go.
Tubelis. He's silly, man. You should not. He's not an NBA player. He's just not.
No, I can't even wait two-way on him.
SB Cole says, give Turk an NBA contract now. He looks awesome, man. It seems like every game or every other game, we got to talk about someone new. And we haven't had a chance to talk about this guy. On previous shows, it was Javonte Smart turning heads with his hustle and efficiency. Tonight, we're going to talk about DJ Stewart. He's shooting 50% from three with the Sixers during the Summer League. Looked great tonight. Yeah, led the team with 24 points on 8 of 16 from the floor, 3 of 5 from three. Let's talk about DJ Stewart. I'll throw it to you, Sean.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't know who this guy was until he played for the Sixers Summer League. He was a highly touted recruit. He was one and done at Duke. He was a top 20 recruit in his class. I think he was in the top 10 even. Went one and done, didn't get drafted, and has kind of bounced around since then. An interesting connection that they made on the broadcast today was that he was a part of the Kings organization, and that it was no coincidence that when Bobby Jackson, who coached tonight for the Sixers, joined the Sixers organization, that he also came over. So I'm wondering if there was a positive word there. I like DJ Stewart. I think that he's very polished, very mature in his read of the game. He seems to have a legitimate NBA shot. The three-pointer looks to be there. I also think there's a three-level potential ability. I thought he finished well. I think the mid-range is there. I like the floater. There was also an obnoxious amount of talk about floaters on the broadcast today. But I am the guy. Yeah, I couldn't figure out what that was about. That was circled back to 4 different times. But I am a guy who likes a guy with a floater. I think that's something that you should have in your arsenal. So I would make my point in there. But DJ Stewart does have that. And so, yeah, I think for me, he checks just about every box. He's a little smaller than you would like, but I trust him with the ball. I think he's a guy that can potentially run an offense. I don't know if I see it with these Sixers, but I think this guy is an NBA talent.
So you're not a Zion Williamson guy?
For the no floaters? Been a rough summer to be Zion, man. Been a rough summer to be Zion.
I'm a floater guy. That was one of my favorite Sean Bernard comments. Tiago, any take on DJ Stewart?
Yeah, they were giving Petrusev a hard time for shooting floaters. I'm like, what do you want him to do? He can't jump over the phone. Is he supposed to throw this down? It's just not prime, whatever. Yeah, I mean, DJ Stewart played very well, a very good player by Summer League standards. I look at the box score, man, for a guy who handled the ball that much, only has 2 assists. And it kind of aligns with what I see on tape. Not a point guard. Every time I see this guy on the ball, I'm like, this guy's not a point guard. So question I have is, what is his role at the next level? Obviously, he shot the ball well for the most part this summer. I will say this, and I don't know how big is he? Is he 6'2", 6'3", something like that?
I think 6'1".
6'1", yeah. So you started getting very, very small, man. I mean, you talk about Jaden Springer, 6'4", right? Turk Smith, thin, relatively small by NBA standards. You're going to have Pep Bev, again, assuming that projecting to this year's roster, which is probably not going to happen, but Pep Bev, small guy. So you probably want to start adding size and not going small. And I think from what DJ Stewart has shown, I just don't think he's done enough to stick. But again, when you talk about guys like Tabellaz, he should be the one that should get a look over for sure.
Yeah. All right. Who else should we talk about? Anyone worth noting?
Petrusev showed me more tonight than I've seen from him in most games. I'm still in the camp of I don't think this guy's an NBA player, and I do think it should be noted that we've pretty much assumed that he's going to be a part of the Sixers. There has not been a contract offered, which I think is, at this point in the game, pretty noteworthy because it felt like there was a promise made that he was going to be. His play has not dictated it, but I will give him credit for tonight that it's probably the most I saw out of him on both ends of the floor. I thought he had some okay moments protecting the rim. Thought he showed some shot ability at least. He's at least showing some willingness to stretch the floor and shoot. I mean, 0 for 3 from 3. 0 for 3 from 3. So, it's not like he was knocking him down, but I need to see that he at least is that, a stretch big man. So I guess I'll give him points for he showed me a little more tonight, but I'm still not buying it.
Yeah, that play he had when he stole the ball and then ran the court and finished. Like, I didn't know he had that athleticism. That was kind of a surprise to me.
Except the end-to-end took like 25 seconds. I was like, I went to go get a drink, and he was still driving. I was like, wow, he's still going. If Greg Brown was 6'11", we'd be talking about a potential NBA starter. He was 6'11", like Patrice said. Because I kind of like Brown, but he's just 6'7", doesn't really have a position in the NBA, I don't think. Although his shot looked pretty good. Yeah. Counsell for me, man, he's been quiet. Been very quiet, and you're starting to see why there's significant limitations there, because outside of him just finishing over a dude at the rim, he hasn't really shown much of anything, offensively at least, and defensively just hasn't been as disruptive as I potentially saw him being. So he's got to kind of pick up a little bit for the rest of summer league, because it's been down a couple of games for him. Offensively, man, it just you don't see much outside of, like I said, the athletic play in space and a tough finish at the rim. So you'd like to see a little bit more from him for sure. Yeah,
I'm really high on Ricky Counsell, and I somewhat disagree. I thought he attacked on closeouts. I thought his defense, his pressure was pretty solid the last game, but you can tell, like, anytime that guy puts the ball on the floor, it's not pretty.
No.
Like, it typically results in it getting stripped, or a turnover, or just out of control. He doesn't have that handle. He doesn't have that body control. He just gets to the line based off of pure amazing athleticism. Any thoughts, Sean, on Ricky Counsell?
Yeah, I mean, like, he's a guy that was worth a flyer on. I haven't seen as much as I probably hoped, and he's kind of, I guess, more of the player that I expected. I've been much higher on Turk going in throughout, and I still feel that way. Counsell, like, I think the shot is going to be sink or swim for him, and I think there needs to be mechanical improvement on it. So I think that's kind of where I sit on him, is that if he can improve enough as like a 3-and-D guy where his jump shot's legitimate enough to respect, then I think there's a sticking point for him. Athletically, he's definitely there, but I just think, like, I need to see that, and I'm not quite bought in that it happens from beyond the 3-point arc.
Yeah, he's a year or two away. Yeah. LP Cook 1 says, if training camp was to start tomorrow, what players from the Summer League roster would get invites, and who is destined for Delaware? Any thoughts on this?
Jaden Springer. They missed his defense today. I mean, they gave up a ton of points, and you see why Jaden Springer is a great defender. I mean, that the Sixers probably win this game if Jaden Springer's out there. So I think right off the bat, he's a player. And I think for me, man, Turk Smith has done nothing not to earn at least a look in the rotation this year. I mean, he's done everything they've been asked for him to do.
Yeah, so it's Turk Smith, Ricky Counsell the fourth, and Azuolas Tubelis are on the 2-way contracts right now. What do you guys do? You think there's a chance that they elevate Turk to a legitimate contract and try and slide that in, or do you think still just keep him there?
Yeah, I think they'll keep him there, but I would consider it, man. I mean, he off the catch alone, right? If you just tell him to go out there, stay on the corner, space it out, he looks capable of doing that today. So
and also like
he's
skinny for sure, but he's not small. Like, he has an NBA frame. He's 6'4", he's got a 6'7" wingspan, and he competes defensively, which is important. Like, he definitely needs to put on weight, and it is a concern that he didn't do that at all in college from freshman to sophomore year. And being 6'4" and 165 pounds, it's just not like NBA proportions at all. But like, the frame is there. He competes. He does all these other things that I think, if that's the biggest negative, it's just that he's skinny, you can roll with that. And I think the skill is dictating that there's a spot for him.
Yeah, and just one more point, like, it's an 82-game season, man. Just because he's on the roster doesn't mean he's going to be playing Game 7 NBA Finals. I mean, use the time to really gauge his potential as an NBA player. I mean, I get the whole G League system, why it's important, especially for a guy like Smith, but I want to see guys like that compete at the highest level, man. Teams like Miami, sometimes even potentially Boston, like they do that. They put their guys out on the fire, and they're like, hey, let's go see what you guys have. And then they'll pull it back if they need to. But
Exactly.
yeah, I wouldn't just throw him in the G League and be like, hey, I'll see you in a couple of years. Like, I think this guy can actually play a little bit.
Plus, is there like potential that like Jaden Springer or, DeAnthony Melton could be involved in some sort of trade within the near future to get under the luxury tax, to be involved in a bigger package with Turk playing so well? Maybe. I know they're none alike, but like Landry Shamet got playing time immediately because of his one true strength, which is spacing the floor.
We just won the Paul Reed battle, and now you want to ship out Jaden Springer. It was the longest 24 hours of our lives.
It was a victory for Sixers Twitter. For
sure. It was amazing. I go back and forth on Jaden Springer a lot. And Thiago, you're definitely higher on Springer than I am currently, especially with his offensive limitations. Springer's a weird one. I'm interested to see what Nurse sees out of him and go from there. But I struggle with seeing how Jaden Springer translates his offense to the NBA, because I don't see him spacing the floor. I don't see him. I don't know. We'll see. But I think, cutting to the basket and stuff, he could be a weapon with his bounce. So
he's a guy, like, he's not Matisse Thybulle from the standpoint he can actually dribble a basketball, right? So when the ball swings his way, even if he doesn't shoot, he can attack the space and then kick it out to the next open guy. So he can be almost like a connector in the offense. Like, think of the way he's not Derek White. Derek White's obviously a better shooter, but a lot of the way that Boston utilizes Derek White is when the ball gets to him, he attacks, and he's got great passing vision, finds Tatum or Brown open. Springer has a functional handle and has good enough passing prowess to potentially be that early on in his career. So he's not like a Matisse Thybulle that's just going to sit there and like crap on the ball, or Ben, who is going to literally hide behind somebody not to shoot the ball. So it's a little bit different from those two players.
I also am excited to see Springer and like what his potential role is as far as a complementary piece on offense. Like, a lot of what I think I'm critical of him in situations is like him doing too much on base of what a normal standard for him will be. So when he kind of can not have to create his own shot at the rate that he's obviously doing in summer league, and that kind of comes with the territory based on the situation. He's a third-year guy doing all this. But I think there's a world where I'll be a lot more optimistic of Jaden Springer when I see him like in the lane. He'll actually be running in.
Yep. LP Cook one says, I like Springer because of his athleticism and defense. I love Turk. I think Smith is a player. Is Mac McClung on the roster? He is not. And I don't even think he's playing summer league right now. I could be wrong. Michael Foster Jr. was on the Knicks just recently.
Charlie Brown Jr. too.
And Charlie Brown Jr. That was sad.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until that game. But anyway, that basically wraps it up. Let's go into player of the game. Thiago, you go first.
Yeah, I'm going to give my player of the game to I'm going to give it to Javonte Smart, man. I'm going to give you guys the layup. I thought that Smart, minus 17. I'm going to have to rethink that. Holy crap. Perfect timing, Chris. You couldn't hide the screen while I talk. 6 assists, man. I just think he's crafty around the rim. I think he's the closest thing they actually have to a somewhat point guard on this roster right now. Orchestrating some offense. He does a pretty good job maneuvering screens. I think I said crafty around the basket. He's got a good touch around the hoop. So he's a guy I would like to keep him on the Delaware roster if I can. But yeah, I thought he played pretty well for the most part, if we ignore the fact that he probably gave up a ton of defensive points.
What about you, Sean?
I'm giving it to my guy, TERQUAVION Smith. Tonight, I felt like was a good step for him without Springer there, with him kind of being the guy, and I thought he delivered. I thought he ran the offense. He looked like the best player on the Sixers for sure, and I think you can really make that argument on the court as a whole. I think he even could go toe-to-toe with Jaden Hardy with that type of thing. So I was happy to see that kind of step forward for him. And also, I've seen some critiques on Twitter about the turnovers. it's summer league. I know 5 turnovers is a lot in this situation, but he's never played with these guys before. It's a weird kind of basketball environment. You look back at his college stats, averaged 2.2 last year, 1.7 turnovers per game the year before. He's going to be fine when things settle down. It's just kind of the way things go right now. I'm happy with how Turk Smith's playing, and I think tonight was a big one for him.
Yeah, and player of the game by far is DJ Stewart. I admittedly had no idea who that was, until this summer league. And I think he's been getting better and better and better, just like Javonte Smart. They have turned heads for sure. And then, like Tiago said, I hope they get an opportunity with the Bluecoats. I think there are several guys on this team that should be in the G League. Greg Brown's one of them, not Petrus. But anyway, that is basically our post-game show. I'll throw it to you, Tiago. Plugs, final thoughts on the Sixers and Mavericks game.
I don't have final thoughts on the Sixers. I'm going to give a shout out to my Penn State guys, Jalen Pickett in Denver, looking every bit like an NBA player. Love what he's doing out there. Seth Lundy in Atlanta as well. So shout out to those guys. Trying to put out an article about Summer League when it's wrapping up here for the Edge of Philly Sports. So, yeah, look out for that.
Awesome. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have a new Pick Swap podcast episode coming out tomorrow. I also have an article, kind of my word vomit on the James Harden situation and the Sixers stance on that. That'll be dropping tomorrow as well. So you can check that out. You can follow me on Twitter at Sean_Bernard1. Check out my stuff on YouTube, both on Pick Swap Media and Fox Sports The Gambler. Other than that, I'm around. I'll be around for Sixers stuff as much as it happens.
Yeah, man, the best of the best. Tiago and Sean, I've got 2 shows dropping tomorrow. One is after like a ton of hours and shows, we finally got my first of my top 50 2024 NFL draft prospects. It'll be numbers 1 through 10, highlight reels, scouting reports, tons of info in those. That'll be dropping at 5:00 tomorrow. And then I've got an interview with Austin Krell of 97.3 ESPN. That'll be dropping, just talking summer league takes, things like that. MLE targets for the Sixers. There's not a lot. Things like that. And then Party on Broad will be Wednesday, of course, talking more Sixers Summer League. So thank you, everyone, for watching. Wherever you're watching, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Give Tiago a follow on Twitter at TiagoPHL. And he is at Sean_Bernard1 for Sean. Go check out Pick Swap Media and Fox 1025, The Gambler with Mark Henry Jr. on Saturdays. For Tiago, for Sean, for myself, stay awesome, everyone.